All right. Welcome to the Hybrid Church Blueprint. My name is Hugh Plapper, and we are thankful that you're joining us today, and we hope to be a blessing in helping you to get the most out of your time. If you in the chat could share with us um, where you're from, name of your church, the role you have in your church, and do you have our workbook? Okay. So in the chat, you see there on the right-hand side of your screen, if you can let us know where you're from, the name of your church, the role in your church, and do you have the workbook? If you don't have the workbook, we will bring it up for you. Okay. So we got 3 minutes here. If you haven't downloaded the workbook, you can download it now. In the meantime, in the chat, can you share with us where you're from, name of your church, the role in your church, and confirm that you do have the workbook? Okay. Oh, Canada. That's cool. You got the workbook. That's awesome. Okay. Lloyd from Canada. Thank you. All right. We've got Marilyn, another Canadian. And you've got the workbook. Awesome. All right. Get you a chance for those that don't have it. You can download it. All right. Okay. Who else has joined us today? And is everybody just from Canada? I think there's an interest from Canada because it seems the COVID rules for churches in Canada are stricter than they are in the United States. So we're glad that you're joining us. Okay. While the others are downloading the workbook, we'll move on. Okay, pre-COVID, post-COVID. How did you feel when all of a sudden COVID hit and all the rules, all the standards of life, everything that we built on changed all of a sudden? We had a church going, we had plans, we had budgets, and then boom, everything changed on us. I see we got somebody from North Carolina, Thompson, and Vimy. I hope I said your name correctly. But all of a sudden, COVID changed. Can you put a word in the chat about your emotions? What did it feel like when you got the news that your life is changing because of COVID? New York, Lewis. Thanks for joining us, Lewis. So in the chat, what did it feel like when COVID hit? I was already working remote myself, so it didn't impact me that much. It did impact our church. Our church hosts a Bible college, and so we had to send students home from the Bible college and all of a sudden go from in-class training to remote training. And it was life-changing. And all of a sudden, families had to spend time together. You had to have family time, right? During COVID, which was a good thing. Okay. Then today, this is our promise. We're going to collaborate with you. We're going to try to help you. Not try, we will help you. Increase your giving, multiply the reach of your sermons by 3x, help you to give online access to your members who can't get online, like the elderly, the poor, and those that don't speak English. They can get online, but your broadcast may be in English. What can you do to help translate your sermons? We want to save you time, and so that you can pick the right hybrid church solutions for your situation. And we have over 40 different solutions that we'll be offering today, from free to those that could cost would be, bigger enterprise type, depending on the size of your church. And we're going to help you download the shopping guide that has those 40 resources in it to help you become a hybrid church. And we're not just talking about online broadcasting. We're talking about the whole online experience of you working with your members. Okay. So if we can remove distractions, let your family know this is important. You'll check in with them as soon as we're done. Cell phones off, mine's off. Have pen and paper ready, or the workbook. You want to have 5 good sheets of note paper if you don't have the workbook. Headphones or earbuds may help you be eliminating distractions that may come your way. All right, I'm Hugh Plappert. So who am I and why am I speaking today? I wrestled with ministry and technology as a teenager looking for direction. Ended up going to a Bible school where they needed a computer programmer. How's that? 2 for 1. I've been with the Bible school now for 38 years, and currently I am a board member. I've consulted in the meantime as a bivocational person with many Fortune 500, Inc. 500 companies and saved many of them over $10 million a year applying the right technology for their situation. Okay, we're going to put up a poll now, and I'd like to have your feedback. And okay, here we go. Publish the poll. There it should come up. What long-term impact has COVID had on your church? So on the poll there, if you could choose financially, growth, connecting with people, communicating, or all the above. Okay, and they're coming in. Thank you. All right. Okay. It looks like financially for 1/4 of you, and the 3/4 of you are chose all the above. It's had a major impact on you. Okay, take the poll down. Thank you for your feedback on that. Okay, the 5 limits of the non-hybrid church. If you registered, you probably saw these slides. We'll kind of go through them quickly and move on with our webinar. The first one is limiting your reach. There are homebound people that would be blessed to have access to your ministry. There's traveling folks. There's people in your community that are online church shopping. And the best thing you can do for church shoppers is allow them to sample your product, to see a worship service and what it is like at your church. And the new families in the community are especially church shopping, and there's actually techniques that you can do to online identify and introduce yourself to new families in your community and expand your reach. These are items that you're most likely are missing if you're not online. Similar to this is you're limiting souls. Online ministry does work. I know of a church, the pastor was preaching. In the middle of the sermon, somebody came in who had been listening to the preaching online and came to the altar and gave their life to Christ. Also, being online opens doors for permission points. You might ask, what's permission points? Permission points are when somebody asks you something about your faith or your church. So by being online, people's friends on Facebook, etc., will see things that they post or they do online. And at work, or a neighbor will come up and say, "Hey, Bob, I saw your church. I saw the pastor preach. His sermon was really interesting." That's a permission point. Now you can talk to that person about your church and invite them to your church. So this makes it easier for the members of your church to invite people in the community. This happened at one church where a wife's husband worked at a bank. She watched the church streaming, commented on it. Because this husband worked at the bank, his co-workers were friends and saw it. They went to a company party, and the president of the bank complimented her church and the sermon, then how it impacted his life. You know, what's the chances that somebody who works in a low-end job at a bank would walk into the president's office and witness to him? But being online gave that permission point so that she could witness to the president of the bank. So you don't want to limit those opportunities for your members. You don't want to limit giving. Emergency giving, that's what happened when COVID came about. People all of a sudden didn't have a way to give unless you were giving online. Outside giving, churches that have online giving, it's incorporated into their website, it's a quality product, have experienced strangers giving thousands of dollars. I know of a church in southern Minnesota A guy never attended the church, never came to church, but twice in 1 year gave $5,000 online. And so there's the outside giving. Reoccurring giving. This is really cool. People can set up to give $50 a week, and they never have to lift a finger again. You'll continually get $50 a week. That is very powerful. If you have people that are inconsistent, and it may be their habits, or they're unaware, or don't have their money with them, recurring giving makes the habit for them. And then the time of giving. People may come to church in person but not have their money with them, and then go home and give at another time. So you don't want to limit the time that people can give when you have giving online. And by the way, the churches that had robust giving systems online before COVID, most of them saw an increase in giving during COVID without them having to lift a finger. Potential. Of course, you want to provide every kind of ministry, meet every kind of need in your community, into your church. And having special guest ministers to fly them in, to pay for the hotels and all that stuff can be costly. When you're online, you can bring them online and not have to fly them in and pay for the meals. And you also give them more time with their family by doing that. You can also do a better job at promoting, registering, and giving reminders for events to increase the attendance of your in-person events as well as your online events. Another cool idea, when you're online, you can do joint ministries. So a number of small churches can get together and have a unified men's group or unified ladies group online. And because the group is now not just 2 or 3 people, but it's a dozen people, there's more input and more people being blessed, and shared resources and lowering costs by doing joint ministries with other churches online. And number 5, you don't want to limit your flexibility. We don't know when the next COVID is going to happen. Just saw an email from a church today, actually it's a Facebook post, announcing they had to shut down. Too many people in their congregation got COVID. So they had to go back to the online only. And then once we experience this COVID, there's going to be more unknown things in the future that might shut us down. Weather-related challenges. Texas got hit with that terrible winter storm, and being online allowed the church ministries to continue. Unexpected health challenges from leaders and members. So a member all of a sudden gets sick and they're homebound, they can still receive ministry. If a leader for some reason gets homebound and they need to get out a rally word or give an update, they can do that online. Building emergencies or size limitations. So you may have a sewage backup in your church one day, and if you're online, you can continue having ministry. And then size limitations. God sends you a great revival. Your church only holds 100. Now people can continue with the ministry outside of the church, by being online and being connected. You could open up another auditorium across town, actually, because you're online, and put it on the screen, and your church can grow when you have building limitations. So in the comments, in the chat there on the side, what are the top limiting concerns for your church? Okay, and those that have the workbook downloaded, take a minute here, and of those 5 limitations, you can write them here. And if you would share the number 1 limiting concern for your ministry or church in the chat, I'd greatly appreciate that. We'll see how that connects with other churches. And also, this will help us as we continue through the webinar to address those top concerns as well. So you put those into the chat. Our church did not have a good online giving system, and that impacted us somewhat when COVID hit us. So it takes a little time here for the chat to catch up. So we'll wait to see what comments we get about those limiting concerns. And it's hard to believe it's been a year that we've been under the COVID lockdown. And good Lord has helped us also to survive. Okay, so go ahead and put those in the chat. Reaching people who are not online. Okay. Thank you for that. Go ahead and put those in the chat, and we'll continue the slides while they're coming in. Okay, then I know what to focus on. So this is the hybrid church blueprint. First, we want to look at what does a healthy church look like, and then with that healthy model, we want to look at the impact that COVID has had. First of all, the church is built on Jesus Christ. So anything that we provide today is we're not trying to not be spiritual or ignore spiritual concerns. We're going to talk about the administrative, the human things that we have to do to support the church. Try not to overload those online with too many event reminders. Yeah, there's some creativity there of doing it just right, but more importantly, at the right time to send those reminders. And maybe that's somebody commenting about the reminders for the webinar, huh? But we're going to look at the healthy church here. So funding, if there's no money, there's no ministry. And of course, we're not trying to be wealthy or rich, but generosity is such an important part of the Christian faith and the blessings from generosity. As a nonprofit, you have glass pockets, right? So people have to see the money working. And what do they want to see? They want to see changed lives, and they want to see quality, not sloppy programs, but quality programs that change lives. The next leg in the blueprint is being fruitful, building teams, having plans and projects for the church to expand its ministries, celebrating expectation and balanced growth. These are all important to be fruitful as a church in your community. And then the third leg is freely communicating. We had to come up with F words. We come up with freely communicating. Casting a vision, your bulletins so people know what's going on, texting, announcements. And again, not giving people too many reminders, but doing it at the right time. Your website and in social media. Does anybody have the answer on how to make announcements so that everybody knows the event is taking place? It is such a frustration. Every church fights that, and always trying to figure out a better way and a proper way to make announcements, making too many announcements, and people not hearing them or being distracted while you're making announcements or not reading the bulletin or not going to the website or not watching the social post. Events take place at my church, and when I check in with them, they made all the announcements. I just never heard them, don't remember them. That is a challenge. Okay, so when you have these three, funding, fruitful, and fully communicating, we fulfill the commission and we have a healthy church. If we're missing the fruitful and we just have the communication and the funding, we become a fraternity. And that means, just our club and us and nobody else, because we're not being fruitful. If we don't communicate, we have a freak show. So we have the money and we're growing, but if we're not communicating, the church isn't going to have much of a life. It's not going to last very long. And it'll be a freak show. And you see this when some evangelist does some big revival and then it comes crashing down, burning. There's no follow-up on it. They're not communicating. They got the funding and they got a lot of people to come out, but it didn't last long. Okay? If you have the communication and you're fruitful, but you don't have the funding, you're going to be fatigued. Right? You're going to wear yourself out and get nowhere. So you need those three for a healthy church. And hopefully your church, this is what it looked like in pre-COVID. So now post-COVID, this is what we look like. Everything's there, but they're not quite being maximizing. And so there's some holes. It's not as strong. And so we want to firm this back up. Now the culture's changing. People's expectations are changing. Government regulations and invasion in the church is changing. Excuse me. So on funding, when you're online, there's a significant increase in giving, outside giving, recurring giving, emergency giving. It's not time dependent, but it also lifts the offering burden from the worship service. So I know churches that don't take up an offering in church. At the end of church, to make announcements to remind the members to give online. And their offering is doing well, and actually I've seen increase in offerings without taking an offering in church itself. So a lot of benefits with having online giving. Then Fruitful. You're going to reach that church shopper, the new family. You're going to open up those permission points. You're going to improve the ability and quality of sharing. So you're going to have a special service, and you tell your saints, hey, tell everybody about a special service. Well, the amount of effort that they have to take to tell everybody is greater than if it was available on social media and all they had to do was share or mention it to others. So it improves that ability. Then it also improves the quality. So if you tell them, hey, we're having a special service and the reason why you're having it, and they go to their friend and say, hey, can you come to church with me Friday night? It's not the same quality as you announced it to be, right? And so if you create the post, you have control of the quality of how the invite happens. And then all they have to do is to share it. You will also have 3 times the impact when you're online. And that's because of the timing. People may not be able to watch your Bible study Wednesday night, but because it's saved after you broadcast it, they can watch it Thursday or Friday. You make an announcement on Tuesday, but somebody will share it on Friday or Saturday. And so because of that life that exists online afterwards, it actually will 3x your reach of your ministry, 3x the impact. And then communicating covers a ton. Event promotion, registration, and reminders, effective meetings and training. So now your teams, when they meet, if you meet online, they don't have to get in the car and drive to church, leave their family behind, and drive home afterwards. You save them that time. They're at home with their family, so if an emergency happens, they can interact and such. You can do more ministry with special guests and the joint effort ministries. One thing a lot of people don't do is create a training library. You've got those videos from being online and doing all the Bible study and teaching. Get them organized and make special pages on your website for special series and topics that will always be there. And then when you need to counsel somebody or introduce somebody or qualify somebody for a position, you can say, hey, go to this page and watch these videos. You already have the training there for them. Also, when you communicate online, you can target audiences. You can talk just to the elderly or just to families or just to students, men, women, etc. You don't always have to talk to everybody, right? So your email list can actually be segmented, and you can send that announcement for students just to students instead of trying to make all the announcements from the pulpit and hope everybody got the announcement that was appropriate for them. You can segment online when you communicate. Okay, so where are the opportunities for your church to improve in funding, fruitful, and freely communicating? You can put that into the chat. I'd really appreciate it. And that also will help us as we continue this webinar. Okay. Now, you maybe see a little bit overwhelmed, wanting to improve all things at the same time. You really need to work with priorities here, one at a time. And then you can do this kind of like a spiral. So do a minor enhancement in funding, a minor enhancement in fruitful, a minor enhancement in communication, and then go back and upgrade your funding to something bigger and better, upgrade your fruitful, upgrade your communication, etc. This is not a once time and done, but these are the areas to be aware of and to evaluate. Okay, so if you put that into the, write it down in your workbook first, and then put the top item, the number 1 item you think that you might want to work on next, in the chat. All right, while you're doing that, don't get too excited about bringing technology into the church too quickly. Okay, when you buy technology, it introduces challenges or problems. Excuse me. And these are some things to be concerned of. So you buy a piece of technology and it costs you so much money, but then you also have to budget training in order to reach your goals that you had for that technology. So now you got to pay for training for your staff to use the technology. Secondly, you don't need to do more, right? So you don't want technology coming in and adding more tasks for people to do. Okay. The manual way is faster sometimes. So you got to be careful when you evaluate the technology you bring into a hybrid church. Number 3, technology never replaces poor skills. All right. I earlier in my career worked with a company that had an inventory problem. And so we created an inventory tracking system for them. They paid me. And then they called me back a couple of years later. That system wasn't working. They wanted an upgrade system. So we upgraded their inventory tracking system. They paid me for it. They called me back 2 years later. That wasn't working. They wanted a more robust inventory tracking system. I built that for them. Found out a couple of years later, that wasn't working. What the problem was is they had bad habits of how they did inventory. And all the programming I did would never replace those bad habits they had in inventory. So technology will not replace a skill. Now, another way to look at technology, all computers do is speed up a process. So if it took you 8 hours a day to do your accounting, and now you can get that work done in 2 hours, 4 hours, that's where the computer comes in, okay? But if you have a bad habit of pornography, the computer will give you faster access to pornography for you to see more of it. So whatever you put a computer to, it's going to amplify, it's going to speed up. So if there's a bad habit and you try to replace it with technology, all you're going to do is amplify it and speed it up. So there needs to be good skills in place for technology to work. Number 4, technology does not limit the need for manual systems. You need to still have a human involved to override things, to correct things, and to run as a buffer. Okay. And then number 5, you have to be careful for the cost of free, and we are providing you with free resources today. But just be aware that it's free because it doesn't do everything, and control it so that you want to control it instead of it controlling you. Especially when you're doing a cost of free, don't expect it to fix any bad skills. You need good skills, especially when you're using free technology. And then number 6 is the technology gap. Not everybody has access to give online. Not everybody has access to watch online. And so there's these gaps. We had a young marrieds seminar that our church hosted. And some immigrant families came, and they were welcomed, and we loved them. But the problem is, to get a hotel room at the seminar, you needed a credit card. You couldn't get a hotel room with just cash. And so a minister had to run interference there and put it on his credit card and take their cash and jump through all those hoops. So there are gaps that do exist in our society, and especially those that are most in need will usually be the ones that get hit with the technology gap. So be aware of that. So I'm going to introduce you to the bilingual studio that we have at Phone Line Streaming. It is our ultimate product, but it is not our only product. Now I'm going to talk about our product here, but at the end of this webinar, like I said, we got 40 resources for you. I've got partners that we have worked with to organize these other resources so that you have a comprehensive hybrid church. But today we're going to talk about phone line streaming. But I want to let you know that we actually have 3 levels before we get into this one. So in phone line streaming, there is the Live Essentials. That's our low-end product. This will allow you to broadcast and connect everybody, and they will hear your message. It will archive it. Let me step back a second. I'm making assumptions here. My first assumption is you know what phone line streaming is. Phone line streaming is a system for broadcasting your service across the traditional telephone, so that grandma who doesn't have a computer or doesn't know how to operate a computer just has to pick up the phone and they can be in church. Somebody who is in a poverty situation and doesn't have good internet access can be in church. And also it's used for translation lines. So you can have a broadcast line for like the Spanish, or our church, we have Spanish and Korean that we translate for. So we'd have 2 lines for them. So it's just telephone broadcast. Now it works with your online streaming. It connects in with the tools that you use to do online streaming. So Live Essentials is the basic product, and it's allows you to broadcast. It allows people to call your phone number, and you actually get a phone number. That's your broadcast line phone number. They can call that number, and they can hear you live. And if you're not live, they get to hear the last service that you broadcasted. If they want to, they can choose to be on your notification or subscription list. They can subscribe themselves over the phone by pressing 1, or unsubscribe by pressing 1 when they call in. There's no access codes. It's automatic. If they're on your notification list, when you start broadcasting, they just pick up the phone, it will ring, and they're in church. It's the first time in world history people show up at church on time. So that's Live Essentials. The Broadcast Studio Pro, this one will actually plug into your online streaming automatically. So if you have OBS, Wirecast, Boxcast, Resi, or already online streaming system, not just holding up your cell phone and doing Facebook Live, but an actual broadcast system, Broadcast Studio Pro will plug into that. Additional features is you can control the notification list. So you can add phone numbers to the list. You can delete numbers from the list. You get a report on how long people have listened and what they've listened to. Also in Broadcast Studio Pro, you get custom greetings. In Live Essentials, when people are on the phone and they're given directions, it's a robotic voice. In Broadcast Studio Pro, you actually get to record your voice. And so it's a familiar voice giving them the instructions that they need. And then I don't know how to pronounce the Spanish here, but this is a bilingual studio professional. This is 2 lines of the Broadcast Studio Pro, one for your English broadcast and one for another language translation. And somebody here saying you got to leave, that's okay. We will get you a recording. Watch your email for the recording of the broadcast. So these are the 3. Today, we're going to talk about this translation one, the Spanish one. So I just want to get that out there, that there are the 3 in different ones. But we're going to review the top one here. Okay. So a little bit about our story. March the 12th, a little bit over a year ago, my son David stayed up all night, concerned about the elderly members at his church and how they were not able to connect with online streaming. At 2 a.m., the first version of online streaming was ready. He posted it on Facebook, and the rest of it is history. Over 700 churches have signed up by word of mouth, a Facebook post, or searching on Google without advertising. And the reason it went viral is a megachurch out east was one of the first people that signed up, somebody we have no contact with or relationships with, and they started telling other people about it, and it took off. So that's how online streaming came about. The original code was written for 5 churches, and today it's used all over North America. So this is David, and I want to explain to you the quality of online streaming and what it can do for you, okay? So David is the programmer. He's my son. At age 12, he resolved networking and software issues for my employer. At age 13, he sold a video player to a sports network in Brazil without his parents knowing it. He sold it for $200. Also at age 13, he created UC Streaming. And this is the streaming system that was watched on the International Space Station. That's before the days of live streaming took place on Facebook and other places. At age 19, he supported the Elastic Web Server Network for Best Buy and took in $500 million in sales in one day. At age 22, he received a call from the White House asking for permission and for support of some of the software they discovered of his on the internet. In 2016, 17, and 19, projects that he worked on as a primary developer was recognized by AWS, which is Amazon, as one of the best in North America. And in March in 2020, he created phone live streaming. So this isn't any rickety system. It's one of the best by one of the top pros in North America. So phone live streaming will help you with the digital divide, the people that cannot watch online, the elderly, the poor, and those that don't speak English. That's our biggest features. Now, phone line streaming is automated, okay? So when you are using OBS or Wirecast or whatever broadcast system you have, and on that system, you hit the start stream button, phone line streaming automatically kicks in, automatically calls everybody on your list. They pick up the phone and they are in your system. And when you hit stop streaming, phone line streaming stops. It doesn't stop cold. It stops with an announcement that the streaming has come to an end. If you've added a demand action menu, that menu comes up and they get to choose from the menu if they want to leave a prayer request, make a donation, or whatever you want to put on your menu. It's all automatic. So the broadcast is automatic. The calls are automatic. So all grandma has to do is pick up the phone, no access code. And as soon as you're done, you hit that stop button. It also will archive your stream. So it automatically has a recording. If anybody calls after the broadcast, they will hear the last broadcast automatically. So you don't need an extra team member to run full live streaming. And this is in the Broadcast Pro and in the translation component. In the Live Essentials, you do have to log in. You do have to hit the Go Live button, or you have to call the phone number that we'll give you where you can broadcast directly from your phone. So there's a little couple minor steps to get it started in phone line streaming. Otherwise, if you're using it with another broadcast system, it's all automatic. The problem with that with us is we're looking to see, are people using our system? And we look for logins. If people log into phone line streaming this week, how many people logged in? That number is very, very low. Because of this automatic system, no login is needed. It's secured and stuff, and you'll get a code for that. But you don't need to log in every Sunday. It just automatically works. And so it's really great that you don't have to have an extra team member. Setup and training. When you go to sign up for phone line streaming, you will get your own phone number, and that's probably the biggest part of the process. It's a 4-step process, picking that phone number. And then secondly, you will get what's called an RTMP key. You only need this key on the Pro and the translation component. You don't need it on Live Essentials. But that key is what you copy one time into your broadcast system, and you're good forever. And then the third thing is managing your call list. So if you have a list of phone numbers that you want to automatically call, entering those. Those are your 3 steps. Pick your phone number, copy your RTMP key, enter your call list, and you're ready. And then phone line streaming has become this Swiss knife. Now, we created phone line streaming for the elderly because my son's church is a rural church, elderly people, and they didn't have internet access. What we found out when we started calling our customers, they were using it for other reasons, okay, for translation, right? So they have a line that's a different language than English. They use it for email. So they would send out email, but not everybody was receiving email again because of the technology gap. But they would put those phone numbers in phone line streaming and send them an audio version of the email. So now everybody's getting the email. And then they also would use it for special announcements. Like the winter storm in Texas, a church would announce, hey, church is closed because of the weather. And that we send out to everybody who's on the phone list. So it's a Swiss knife, and you can use it in many different ways. All right. So what impact would these features have on your church? So in your workbook, just down one of those features, and how that would impact the ministry and your church. And I'll go back over them here real quick again. Right? So crossing the digital divide for the elderly, the poor, and those that don't speak English. The automation, so you don't necessarily have to have another team member run it in the pro level. The setup, like the call list, The Swiss Nice, could you complement your email? Use it for special announcements. So what feature and what ministry would that impact? All right. Now, just to check, those that are online, give me a an amen. If you're still with us, your things are starting to materialize in your head of where you can go and what you can do with hybrid church ministry. Okay. So just add that into the chat as soon as you finish writing down your things in your workbook. And then we'll take a breather and we'll show you how we can save you over $1,000 in the next few slides here. Thank you, Marilyn. All right. You say hi, amen, etc., so forth in the chat. And we'll get going here. I got an amen, brother. Thank you, Lewis. Hopefully it's sunny and warm at your place. We're so excited. We're going to hit 50 today. We'll be 69 on Monday in Woodbury, Minnesota. And 69 in March in Minnesota is what we call a miracle. All right. All right, we'll continue on. Here we go. So, how does phone line streaming help? Remember, when you are looking at new technology, you need to evaluate all these points. The investment in training to reach your goals. Phone line streaming, you just saw how automated everything was, the simple setup steps, so little or no training. You don't need to do more. Just broadcast like you already are broadcasting if you're using a broadcasting tool like OBS, Wirecast, Boxcast, or Resi. So there's not more to do, right? You don't need another team member. If you're using Live Essentials, you will need somebody to hit the start live and turn it off before you can log in. So very little steps. Number 3, technology will never replace your poor skills. So you still need a quality sound man, right? If he's not very good on the soundboard, it's not going to sound very well in flying streaming, and that's out of our hands. So you still need good skills. Number 4, technology does not limit the need for manual systems. So if you're using this to help you elderly people, calls and visits are still appropriate. Not only appropriate, but what you need to do to stay in touch with them. This just will help them be able to be a part of a live worship service. Cost of free. When we started full line streaming, our big competitors, was Facebook and Zoom. Facebook added a phone component to their live stream at that time, actually 2 weeks after we did, and we actually know the person at Facebook that did it. They copied it from us, but they discontinued it because it was costing so much. When you're on the phone, you do have to pay for minutes. And that's why we can't give away phone line streaming for free. But Facebook was doing that. They discontinued it because it cost too much. Zoom was doing it in their free accounts. And they also discontinued it because it was costing so much. So the cost of free, trying to do it free, does not work. We, in fact, about every month have to renegotiate our price with our telephone company to try to keep the costs under control. It's funny how prices and telephone systems work. And then number 6, the technology gap. We overcome that gap for the elderly, the poor, those that not speaking English. Another gap in technology is accessibility. So there's some places where the internet doesn't reach, or the we call it the speed of their internet connection is poor, and so buffers, right? Phone calls don't buffer. And phone reach is better than internet reach. And so we actually have churches, one church, a third of the people that use phone line streaming are millennials on the go. You're listening to at work or while they're traveling, because of the quality of the signal is better than that of video. Okay, I'm going to give you a quick tour of phone line streaming. Let's see, third screen, here we go. So This here is the key that you would copy over to your streaming system. And that's the only thing you'd ever have to do to set up, and you never have to log in again. This here, my poor eyesight, is a dash. So RTMP is the more popular way of doing streaming. There is advanced and bigger systems that use what's called dash, DASH. And those that use dash, this is where you get your instructions to connect by dash. This here is the web broadcaster. Okay, so if you're in Live Essentials, this is one of the two places that you can broadcast from by just hitting that go live, and it'll pick up the mic off of your cell phone or your iPad or your laptop or your desktop, and you're ready to go. That's all you have to do to go live on Live Essentials. The other way on Live Essentials is there's a phone number that you would call in. You would have to log in and give your access code. Once you've done that, then it would call everybody on your list and they would hear the broadcast. The phone live option of doing the phone number one is really good in an emergency situation where you quickly got to get the message out, don't have time to get to the computer. You can broadcast right from your phone. And then this is the broadcast by phone. These are the instructions for using your phone if you want to broadcast just from a phone call. And a broadcast by phone does not have to be a smartphone. You can do that off of a phone hanging on the wall. Playback audio uploads. So if you're the kind of church that records and then you want to put it online later, you can do that here. You can upload. And it's actually the number one way that phone live streaming is used is through this upload feature. This is your stats. You get details about usage, people listening. You can know everybody's individual call, how long they were on and what they were listening to. It covers a lot of deals there. This is where you manage your subscribers or live notifications. So these are the people that are going to be automatically called when you start your stream. This is simulated live. So simulated live is when you upload a recording and you want it to go live at a given time. So say you want to go live at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. At 10 a.m. Sunday morning, phone live streaming will call everybody on the list and play the uploaded file for them. It's called simulated live. Custom greetings. This is only available in, by the way, the notifications, where these live notifications here, these, it's only available in the Pro. This screen's not available in the Live Essentials. And this custom greetings is not available in Live Essentials. This is where you go in, you record the incoming welcome, the outgoing welcome, the join notification, join notification list confirmed, remove from notification list, remove notification list confirmed, invalid input for the library, when the streaming is finished, join us in the live stream. All these are robotic on the Live Essentials, but you get to record your voice for all these messages on the Pro version. Also, the Pro version, you do call to action. So when you do your live stream and you're done, the person is going to hear one of those custom greetings or the robotic saying the live streaming has ended. All right. Then you can add call to action. You have up to 9 items that you can say. If you want to leave a prayer request, press 1. If you want to make a decision for Christ, press 2. If you want to give, press 3. If you want to join the youth for their camp outing, press 4. And those numbers will be attached to other phone numbers, and a call will go through to those numbers. So this is available in the Pro, the call to action at the end of the broadcast. And here's where you manage your billing. You have questions about your billing and want to know what's going on. So real quick, any questions on this quick tour here? If you want to, in the chat, let us know. If there's something that needs to be clarified of what we went through there on the menu. All right. there's a little delay here. It's kind of a challenge waiting for the chat to come through. If you're happy with everything that you saw, have no questions, you can say, I'm happy, I'm good, something like that in the chat. And if you do have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat. And we'll try to address it real quick here. And then we're going to follow up with showing you how to save $1,000. All right. Okay. We'll continue. Okay, so our goal today is not to sell you phone line streaming. Okay, we're going to give you some resources. We're going to show you a little bit how to get those resources that will help you with the overall view of a hybrid church. And we're not going to ask you today to subscribe to phone line streaming. What we're asking is if you see a potential and you're questioning, hey, Live Essentials, Broadcast Pro, or the translation line, how would that work in my situation? What's my options? Our goal today is to set up a meeting with you because your situation is unique. All right. So in a little bit, we'll give you a button where you can actually schedule that 15-minute free consultation meeting, and we'll get your questions answered, detailed answers there. So don't have a count. We're going to start at the top. And like I said, we saw the different versions below. Okay, this is the translation. The problem with translation today's systems, churches have spent money up to $10,000 plus on translations. And their equipment was physical equipment that had to be used in person. Phone line streaming translation works in person and works online at the same time, number one. Number two, all those devices that have been used in translation had to be cleaned because of COVID and extra care taken care of them. With phone line streaming, the people bring their own device, their own phone, to receive the translation in. So they're not sharing equipment and passing COVID around. This particular offer that we have here is 2 lines, one for English and one for translating. So it's going to help you to cross the digital divide with the elderly, the poor, those traveling, the non-English. It's going to work in person. It's going to work in broadcast. There's no need to rent or buy expensive conference equipment. No COVID sanitation needs. Allows for remote interpreting, and it includes automatic broadcast calling and archiving in both languages. Okay, so right off the bat, we're going to save you $625. The discount one, the sign-up fee if you bought 2 Pro lines would be $398. So we're going to drop the sign-up fee, the part where we have to connect the phone, get you your phone number, and those type of things. That will be free. The second part, because you're buying 2 lines, we give you a $228 discount over if you bought them separately. Okay, that totals $625. Right? In the meeting that you'll schedule here in a minute, you're going to get 2 months free. You'll get a code for that. Okay, when you sign up, a coupon code, and that's worth $358. All right, and then we got 2 bonuses for you if you set up the meeting worth over $100. One's a library with 10 short, helpful ebooks that our partners have written about hybrid church to be a help to you. And then a toolbox, which are tools that you can use free, 11 simple, useful, powerful tools to help you with your hybrid church for free. Okay, so if you buy a line for the digital divide and buy a line for translation separately, it'd be $2,774. The $626 discount and the $358 coupon brings that down to $1,790, and then $100 in bonuses. That's over $1,000 in total savings. All right. So to set up the meeting, we'll get you a button here. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Everybody still there? Let me hit the right button. All right. We've got 10 minutes and the sign up now button should appear. and click on that button to set up your 15-minute meeting. Is Live Essentials good enough for what you need? Is Broadcast Pro going to help you, or will the translation item help you? And get your questions answered. If you're not currently using streaming technology, I'm not talking about the cell phone, type of broadcast to Facebook Live, but you're actually not using OBS, Wirecast, Boxcast, Resi, etc. On this call, David will take the call. He can advise you on what to use, depending on your needs. On the low end, there's the OBS, which is free, and it's a pretty good tool. And a lot of the smaller churches use that. Does a ton of things for them. Phone live streaming plugs directly into that. On the high end, there's Resi. What Resi does is it not only does live streaming, it takes care of the video internally in your church, and it also does video across multi-sites. The video transmission across multi-sites is different than doing video on the internet because you need the quality, you need the strong signal. You don't want it to drop. So Resi is on that high end. We work with Resi. So the low end OBS, Resi the high end. David can answer those questions for you in that meeting. You can do that. I will move on. In that meeting, bring your team. So in the workbook there, who would need to be in that meeting? Said if you have a meeting and you have to schedule another meeting for other team members, you can get all your team together for the meeting. That would be the best way to do it. So in your workbook, you can track who you want to come to the meeting, confirm, and remind them about the meeting, and fill out that so that your whole team can make it to the meeting. All right. We'll be sending you by email to everybody who was on the webinar the Hybrid Church Shopping Guide. This has 40 resources in it. Has a number of free resources. Of course, the free resources may have some limits on how much you can use it, how long you can use it, etc. But you will know what the different options are, from a free OBS to a expensive high-end Resi to different types of giving. There's a Rebel Giving on here is a newer giving technology, very powerful. You do want to take a look at all the giving options, but check out Rebel, Rebel, however you want to say that, giving. Really cool tool there. Okay, questions? Any outstanding questions? We want to be on standby here and answer as many questions as we can. Of course, the very detailed questions about your ministry needs you can get at the meeting. Trying to think. Limitations. So you're allowed to have so many hours of broadcast per month, depending on which plan. Let me go over that real quick with you on the limitations. Okay. So Live Essential is 10 broadcast hours a month. In the Pro, you're looking at 40, and on the translation, it's 80. It's 240s. There it is. Okay. So 10 hours a month. What is that? That's 10 hours of church, 10 hours of ministry. Okay. Then you have 50 monthly unique callers, and that's concurrent callers at the same time. So you can have 1 hour of church, and you have 5 people call in. Okay, that's 5 hours of telephone calls. We have to pay for 5 hours of telephone calls. But the dimensions are the broadcast hours, hours of ministry, hours of church, and then unique callers at the same time. So you can actually have 50 people 1 hour on one Sunday and 50 different people on another Sunday for 1 hour. That'd be a total of 100 people, right? But you only had 50 at a time, 50 concurrent. So that's the framework of the limitations on how much calling you can do. So when it says unlimited minutes, those are broadcast hours times number of people concurrent calling. So you don't have to worry about the minutes if you just know how many people can currently call and how many hours of broadcast you're doing. So 10 hours is, 2 hours a week on a 5-week month. 40 is 8 hours a week. And churches that use 40 are doing prayer meetings, Wednesday night Bible study, Sunday morning, Sunday night, different things throughout the week that they use up those minutes for. We actually have government accounts. We serve churches, but a number of government agencies have come to us and want to use full line streaming. And we have to charge them a pretty price. It's roughly $1,000 a month for most government's accounts because they're doing meetings all week. But that's not something we offer to churches because this is plentiful for what the churches need. So let's go back and see any more questions coming up. All right. Lloyd, Bishop, Marilyn, or Doris. Any questions? Let us know in the chat, and we will be glad to help you. All right. And if you got the workbook, you should have the blueprint. If you didn't, you can get a quick screen capture of it here. This is that blueprint to think about the funding, fruitful and freely communicating, making sure these things are all strong in your church in the new normal, the unexpected change from COVID. Okay. Thank you for those that are scheduling a meeting. We pray that everything is helpful. And David will bend over backwards and try to make sure that you have a clear understanding of what is possible with online streaming. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your time on this beautiful spring day. We pray that your ministry will be bountiful, your community will be blessed. And, we consider ourselves ministry partners. We're here to help. We're here to help. If you visit Full Line Streaming, there's a little chat box in the bottom corner. Use it with Liberty, and ask all questions you need. Go, to the meeting, get your specifics answered. Anytime you need help, we are here to be your partners. Lift your arms and support you in the work that God has called you to do. All right. Trying to make sure we're not leaving anything out for you. Hoping this chart was helpful to explain things, kind of give your arms around what's going on so that you can make good choices. Share Full Line Streaming. It is probably 40% of our business, people passing the word on, and amazing people sign up. Well, how'd you hear about us? We have a story of one was a walk in the park. Guy was walking in the park, and there was a guy sitting on the bench. He sat down, started visiting with them. Come to find out, both of them were pastors. And one pastor says, "Yeah, this COVID, I'm really concerned about my elderly people. I have not been able to minister to them." And the other guy says, "Oh, you need Full Line Streaming," and told about how his church was using Full Line Streaming right there in the city park. So it's kind of funny how the word gets around. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us and helping us being a part of this webinar and being interactive. Give us your input. Thank you for signing up for that free consultation and seeing how we can partner with you and help your church. God bless you and have a wonderful day.